Safety in the air begins with quality maintenance on the ground. This is the motto of the Aircraft Mechanics Fraternal Association. AMFA is a union of craft professionals dedicated to representing its members who are on the front line of air safety.
Center Alaska 261, we're at 26,000 feet. We are in a vertical dive. Alaska 261, clear condition.
And that plane has just started to do a big, huge plunge, and he just hit the water.
They begin in a matter of hours. Federal hearings into the crash of Alaska Airlines Flight 261. 88 people died when the plane plunged into the Pacific last January off the coast of California.
Does the crash of Alaska Flight 261 boil down to something as mundane as the grease used to lubricate the jack screw? For the mechanics who worked on the plane that crashed as Flight 261, the causes are bigger than a single failure.
AMFA had been with Alaska Airlines about 3 years, and we took a GO team down there and represented our members during that accident.
I participated in the Flight 261 investigation, and while we all went in with the overriding goal of finding out the precise cause of the accident, that you notice right away that the different parties to the investigation. And so you need to make sure that you have the mechanics union participating in that investigation to ensure that we're not getting undue blame.
You know, there are other reasons that cause accidents to happen. Accidents are not a single event. It's usually multiple events that cause the accident.
So we spent many weeks recovering all of the aircraft parts, identifying them, putting them in the hangar, going through an analysis of the parts and the failure mode of what happened in that accident. And in that accident, there were several factors identified that led to the ultimate failure of the jack screw and gimbal nut components.
Now, one of the dirty secrets of accident investigation is that generally the parties share an economic interest, that it's always cheapest and most convenient to blame an accident on a single individual, to blame it on a dead pilot or to blame it on an aircraft mechanic.
So the incident in the Helios event, the fault was found with the mechanic that had left a cockpit switch in a certain position, even though the pilot pre-flight checklist requires that the pilot check that switch and move it into the appropriate position. They still came back and tried to place blame, or did place blame, on a mechanic who had left it in a different position.
When we diverted into Yuma with aircraft 632, when the top opened up and they diverted in, they had a rapid decompression from going from Phoenix to Sacramento. There's so many parties to an investigation that you definitely want to be represented and have somebody knows how to work with the NTSB, how to work alongside the NTSB, and the responsibilities to take. You want somebody in your corner that's going to stand up when the finger starts getting pointed at the mechanics that something wasn't maintained correctly.
The average aircraft technician faces this dilemma. He's the servant of two masters. He's employed by an airline. He's licensed by the FAA. However, the airline has another agenda, which is to push the aircraft out and meet its schedule. So there you have the aircraft mechanic whose wages week to week are dependent on satisfying the airline, and the FAA not willing or disposed to defend his employment rights. That's where the orientation of AMFA is critical, that we will defend you. Where the FAA will not, we will come in and defend you when you put an aircraft out of service, because that is your obligation under your license and under federal law.
Where most people would think that a union simply is a contract, what we offer goes beyond that contract. You know, an aircraft technician can be hired by A, B, or Z airline. At the end of the day, it's the FAA that owns that individual's license. And without that license, you can't get hired by one of those carriers. As aircraft technicians ourselves, we're able to provide a service of understanding and are able to go out there and fight to the very end without that individual having to go hire an attorney on his own.
For the union members that are paying their union dues every month, one of the things that they get for their dues is the representation, not only in contract matters, but in all matters that surrounding the aircraft technician, what our union represents. The members have to be confident that the union is there helping protect them when times of question on a particular task has been done.
The safety aspect in aviation could be from an OSHA standpoint, industrial safety, anywhere from hearing protection, personal protection, breathing apparatuses, stairways and ladders and what have you, and then standards, really how a manufacturer's procedures are adhered to, and FAA standards as well.
Oh, the professional standards program that we have is it's a conflict resolution tool that is available to resolve conflicts both between AMFA members, so it doesn't go to the company where people's careers are at stake, and it's also a valuable tool to use with the other work groups.
What you're referring to is an FAA letter of investigation, otherwise known as an LOI. And in that, basically, the first letter of investigation is exactly that. The FAA is looking for more information from that mechanic to explain what the situation might have been. But what I will do is get with that technician, review their response, and assist them with their response to the FAA, whether it be written or verbal. The FAA will then either drop the case, maybe place a letter in that individual's file in Oklahoma City for, say, 2 years, or they'll escalate that and ask for a certificate action. So what we do is we obviously want to avoid that, because in today's world there's not many carriers out there that will hire a mechanic or technician without a license. No license, no job.
The public expects a high level of safety from aircraft technicians, and we at AMFA strive to have the highest level of safety. And how we do that is making everybody aware of what they need to do as a technician, not only in the sense of professional standards, in the work that they do, understanding the maintenance manuals, the regulations.
AMFA has an FAA fine protection program, so that if our members receive a letter of investigation, and after they've gone through the response to that, had meetings with the FAA, that AMFA will provide $500 of fine coverage for that mechanic.
The critical role that AMFA plays, that the manufacturer of the aircraft does not play, the manufacturer of the engine doesn't play, and that the carrier doesn't play, is that they will defend that individual so that inappropriate conclusions aren't drawn. For example, in the Alaska 261 matter, it could have come out a different way with individual mechanics being blamed for omissions. Instead, AMFA was there to demonstrate that there were broader protocols that needed to be changed. AMFA was the only entity there that had an interest in saying it was not the individual mechanic's fault. It was the problem with a larger system and a set of protocols that were not properly developed in order to maximize safety. That's the role that AMFA plays in an investigation that no other party of interest is there to play.
I think that motto says it all. Safety in the air begins with quality maintenance on the ground. That's the basic truth.
You know, we strive ourselves to be the best mechanics around, and in order to have safety in the air, you have to have the quality of maintenance on the ground.